Welcome to Pour Temecula. Today's episode dives into wine certifications. We'll hear from two local voices, Heather Rankin, a wine server at Danza del Sol, and Nate Rivera, co-owner of the Goat and Vine, Two Travelers, and The Little Goat. From shifting taste preferences to opening career doors, they share how studying wine has shaped the way they work, think, and connect with others. Whether you're starting your journey or simply curious, we explore how certifications shape careers and personal connections to wine. But first, Shannon, what are you drinking?
I have been doing something really fun to prepare for our upcoming Rosé podcast episode, so tune into that soon. I've been going around Temecula to all of the wineries doing some rosé tasting. Kosh, Mesilla de la Viña, Palumbo, Botella, Miramonte, Ponte. I think that was it.
Shannon, we get it. You've been to a lot for research, right?
Yes, all in the name of research.
That's right. No other reason at all. Anything else?
I also have been doing some rosé tasting for Two Travelers Wine Club and had something really interesting that may or may not be in the club, but I wanted to share it anyways because I thought it was delicious. It was a spumante, so sparkling wine from the Chianti Classico region of Italy made with Sangiovese. So it's a sparkling Sangiovese rosé. It was so unique and delicious and really fun.
And that was from Sangiovese?
Yeah, I've never had that before.
Oh, well, that's interesting because both you and I got to sit down with Dirk and Michelle Ace at their house and taste not only their Sangiovese that they made for the first time ever, but quite a few other Chianti Classicos, and I think we had
Brunello di Montalcino, yeah.
Sangiovese. So we had a whole range of Sangioveses, and that ended up being a really cool tasting, a nice comparison. You don't often get to taste, or at least I haven't, kind of the ranges of Sangiovese that are available out of Italy like that. And a very focused tasting. Sometimes you can go to these big tastings and do a whole bunch of them, but they kind of get lost in the shuffle. Mm-hmm. But when you're able to kind of like narrow in and be like, this is a Chianti Classico, this is a Reserva, this is a Gran Selezione, this is a Brunello, and sort of like pick it apart and see like how that changes from each of those stages. I think that's a good thing. And I say that because I'm pitching and promoting our new podcast coming out, The Short Pour, where we talk about Tuscany, we talk about Chianti Classico, and that crazy bottle that you might be familiar with called the Fiasco. It's that sometimes held a candle and was in Lady and the Tramp. But on our new podcast, which we'll kind of simul podcast on here as well, we're going to be talking about that. Anything else? Or is it my turn to kind of go off on?
I think it's your turn.
Okay. All right. Besides the Sangioveses that we had, I had a number of years ago got a couple bottles of Virginia wine. It was a blend of Bordeaux, a Bordeaux blend, and it was by RDV. And they're still around, and they're considered kind of the echelon, the tip of the spear of Virginia wine. Virginia wine is, over the last 10, 15 years, has started to produce some really interesting wines, Nebbiolo and Viognier, and particularly RDV has made some great, really critically acclaimed Bordeaux-style wines. And I bought 2 bottles of this wine maybe like 2018, 2019, and I drank one right away because I had to know, and it didn't really do anything at all for me. And then over Memorial Day weekend, I opened the other bottle that I had. Now, this is 2016, so it's got 9 years of age on it, and it was awesome. It was so, like, silky in your mouth, like, so soft. It had equal parts of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Cab Franc, and the Cab Franc, really, that spicy character of it really stood out and, like, freshened it up. It was just... I understood why it had gotten so much acclaim. I didn't see it, like 6 years ago, but that's sometimes why we age wine and we let it mature. That's not all the case with every wine, but in this case, it really did improve. And then the other great wine I had was a Cremant de Bourgogne Blanc de Blanc, which essentially is just a sparkling Chardonnay from the Burgundy region of France, done in the same style as Champagne. And that was what I personally love about Champagne, like bready and yeasty and biscuity and all those things. It was just a really delicious wine that was way cheaper, at $20 to $5, I'd say, than any Champagne.
That's a good deal.
That is always a good deal. You'll always take that.
I also just thought of something. You said Blanc de Blanc, and that reminded me of our new-ish obsession with Blanc de Noir still wine. I actually had one today that was a Gamay and Pinot Noir blend, and it was a Blanc de Noir style. So basically that means they took the grapes, which are red grapes, Gamay and Pinot Noir, crushed them, pressed off the juice really quickly, just like you would do with white wine, no skin contact, and it's basically white-looking wine made from red grapes. It was delicious.
So well, there's more to that story. We don't want to give too much away. Let's get back to wine certifications. I think it would be good to sort of explain why people would get certified, first of all, and then talk about some of the certifications programs around the world. And then we will follow that up with our own stories about why we got particular wine certifications and what they've meant to our own careers. Just a few reasons. We've had a couple episodes lately that we've talked about wine lingo and listener questions. I think a lot of these certifications exist so that we can come up with language around wine that is universal. So hopefully the last couple episodes have kind of helped out. Other reasons would be to kind of like validate your experience. I think with sort of social media and everything being online, it's created a lot of online experts. And the certifications still exist in a way that make you prove that you know what you're talking about. That isn't to say that any influencer isn't certified. It's just that there are a lot of influencers, especially in the wine space and the alcohol space and the drink space, that are just influencers and not necessarily up. But so certifications help. They're a way to prove that you know what you're talking about. The other things that kind of go along with that, we will talk about in the show about career advancement, if they're needed or not. And just, I think one big thing that personally gets missed is just to really have an appreciation for it. There's a lot of people that love wine. There's beer certifications and other spirit certifications too. People who really appreciate it it's a way for them to really deepen their knowledge and deepen their enjoyment of it, and then to go out and share that with other people. And I think that gets missed a lot. Moving on. So what certifications exist? The biggest one for wine is the WSET, which stands for the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. And it's really geared towards a whole broad audience, everything from the people who just want to appreciate wine, enthusiasts, and wine professionals. It's really focused on understanding how the wine gets from a vineyard into the glass and then what that tastes like. There are obviously more in depth of that, but it also features 4 levels. There's an introductory level, which is really geared towards, okay, this is a wine. Okay, this is the difference between, a Pinot Noir and a Cabernet, and this is where they grow, and this is the environments that they grow in, and that's level 1. Level 2 is a more intermediate. You're going to go into more depth than that. Along with that is I think a 50 or 100 question test, multiple choice. I don't remember. It's been a while since I did it.
I don't know. I didn't take.
Oh, you didn't take it, Shannon? Oh, Shannon was too good for that. So, and it's really, it's to show, okay, here's the wines that grow in Germany. And that talks a little bit about the environment and the growing environment in Germany. That's just an example. Level 3 is an advanced version of that, where not only do you have to, there's a multiple choice test, there is actually some like 8 essay questions, and it'll quiz you from everything like, what's a coastal growing region in California, and to what grapes grow in that coastal region, to what is the coastal region like. So it's not like a super thing, but it does intimidate some people. And then there's also a little short tasting thing. So tasting and the language that we've used, acidity, tannin,
color.
flavors, color, aroma, intensity. Those are all part of the level 3, and it's meant, again, to be sort of introductory, and now that builds to level 4, which is called the diploma, and that is really expert-driven, a lot of analysis. It usually takes at least a year to get through. There are different phases to that level, but it is tasting 12 blind wines and writing descriptions of those wines, analyzing those wines, everything through multiple days of theory testing, which is you're asked a question and you have to write 2 or 3 pages in an hour on a question like that. And there's more to it than that, but that'll give you a sense of it. So it's really meant for people who, I would say, like ourselves, Shannon and I, we're loosely attached to the industry and somewhat in the industry, but we're not on the service side. So then we get to the service side.
Court of Masters of Sommeliers is for hospitality professionals, and we say that because there's a huge service aspect to the test. Unlike WSET, you do have to focus on being in a restaurant setting and serving a table of people, and the way the order in which you do things, the way you move is all being judged while they are asking you questions about wine in order to trip you up and see how you react. They really focus on service, blind tasting, and again with some practical knowledge, just like WSET. They have 4 different levels. So your intro course is similar to like WSET level 1, maybe level 2, and then you have your certified sommelier, which is in a similar way to WSET level 3. But with the service aspect to it. And then you can go on to advanced sommelier, which you have to have 2 years of service industry experience. I believe you actually have to be invited to take the test. So it's not just anybody can't sign up for it. And then you have Master Sommelier, which if you've ever seen the movie Somm on Amazon or Somm TV, that is what that movie was about, was that master certification. One of the differences between the two is WSET, you can sign up for any level at any point. You don't have to take level 1 or 2. Court of Masters, you do have to start from the beginning.
And then there's the Master of Wine program, which, to sort of build off the Master Sommelier, that you don't have to get a WSET diploma. You don't have to have an advanced Master Somm certification. You could go into the Master of Wine program by just demonstrating your knowledge of the wine industry. But those are really people who have spent a lifetime in their career in those programs, like vintners, winemakers, viticulturalists, enologists, people on the marketing side. And you have to apply and you have to prove that you know what you know. Once you're accepted into that, which is a very difficult thing, it is a very rigorous multi-year experience with 3 different stages that include tons of blind tasting and tons of writing and spending an obscene amount of money to get to that level. So it's a multi-stage. There are very few people, and on the Master Somm side, there are very few people, and there's only 4 people in the world that have both a Master of Wine and a Master Somm title. So it's very, very, very rare. And if you're listening to this, it's fun to talk about, but it's a very unachievable kind of task. So I wouldn't even consider that. But you do need to know. And then there are the wine scholar guilds. So I don't know, Shannon, have you ever taken a wine scholar guild class?
No, I haven't.
So those are like the French wine scholar. They're books. They're Italian wine scholar, Spanish wine scholar. There's a German wine scholar that just came out. But they are geared towards learning all about that one particular country or region in great detail. I mean, they're a couple 100-page books. You take a test on that. Anybody can do these. There's no prerequisite for any of this. You don't have to be a master of wine. You could just be, oh, man, I love French wine, and I want to learn more about all the wine regions in France. And the other ones, I don't know, are you familiar with the Society of Wine Educators?
Yeah. So Society of Wine Educators offers a Certified Specialist of Wine, or CSW certification. It's usually for, in the U.S., for educators, retailers, and distributors. They really focus on theory in a multiple choice format rather than essay questions. They are recognized nationwide in the States in distribution and education sectors.
And then there are post-secondary college and university programs. Those are really geared towards the viticultural side, enology, wine business, marketing, hospitality. People who want to make a career on something that's other than serving wine. I mean, you could do that. You can obviously combine a lot of these things together. And then beyond that, there are a couple other programs. Napa Valley Wine Academy offers these specialist programs, which are kind of like deep dives into like Sonoma or Oregon or Napa. And again, just like the Wine Scholar Guild, those are open to anybody who has an interest in those areas, but they don't really carry a lot of weight in the overall interest. That's cool. You can tell your friends about it, but it doesn't really add up to anything. And there's a couple other ones. James Suckling Masterclass, he offers some videos and things like that. There's a couple regions around the world. I myself have done the Rioja Wine Academy. And again, it's a neat thing to add to what you knew. And you can impress your friends and family with it. But it doesn't really carry a whole lot of weight in the industry. But one in particular that you did, Shannon, that you really enjoyed and would recommend for someone starting out is the Wine Folly Wine 101 course. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yes. So I actually did I think when I bought Madeline Paquette's book, Wine Folly, it came with the Wine 101 certification. And then shortly after that, she came out with a Wine 201 certification class. So I signed up for that as well. And the 101 was very much, hey, this is wine, this is how it's made from grapes, and very, very, very intro. So if you know nothing about wine, don't even know what it is, check that out.
And economically, it's pretty reasonable? Very
reasonable. Okay. It was, for me, it was free when I bought her, $35 book on Amazon. Yeah. And then her 201 class, she was doing a special. I think I maybe paid $200 for it. It really was a very good intro class to, hey, these are some wine regions around the world. This is a deeper dive on how wine is made, learning about the life cycle of a grapevine. I would probably attribute it to, I didn't take WSET or WSET level 1 or 2, but I think it would be kind of a mixture of the two. I made so many flashcards. I studied for weeks, and then I went to take the test, and it was like a 50-question multiple choice. It was, I way overstudied, but I do feel like...
You got 100% though, right?
I did get 100%.
All right. So.
And that, I feel like it set me up to jump in at a higher level of WSET than if I hadn't taken it.
And one thing we did not mention through all these is the cost. As you can expect, once you go up to higher levels, that price really escalates. You're more than welcome to go online and look up costs. It varies from region to region, from whoever teaching it. It varies. So we can't really come on the podcast and talk about, it's going to be $150 to do this, because that would not be accurate at all. So just do your own due diligence. There's lots of information online on each of those, depending on what you want to do. Shannon, real quick, what certifications do you have, and what first sparked your interest in getting wine certifications?
I have my WSET level 3. I got that last year, passed with distinction. And I just purchased my Court of Masters Sommelier's intro course, which I was a little annoyed about because I wanted to go straight to certified. But like we said earlier, you have to start from the beginning. So I just purchased that. I'll be taking that very soon, and then I'll be signing up for the certified this year as well. And then, as I said earlier, I also have the Wine Folly 201 certification. What about you?
I have done all the WSET certifications. I'm currently nearly done with the diploma, so that's the highest level. I will not be going on to Master of Wine. It's just not really what I want to do. You know, what sparked my interest was just when I first got into wine many years ago. None of this was, I didn't know about any of this. Like, it wasn't a thing. You just enjoyed wine. You bought some wine, you got a group together, and you drank a bunch of wine. Well, you wanted to learn more than that, you went out to the library and you got some books. So then, you know, there was an era where every present I got for Christmas or a birthday was another book on wine. And then you get so many books, you don't read them. And now there's tons of books about wine. So I don't know, maybe it was like 6 or 7 years ago when I moved to Temecula, actually, and I started getting ads on Facebook for different certifications. And then I was like, I don't even know what these are. So I researched them, and then I kind of didn't really do it for a couple years. And then I decided that, I'll take these classes. There's some, you get to talk for a couple hours about wine, and then there's a whole bunch of wine that they bring in the taste that was really important to me. And then from there I was like really intrigued, and I just wanted more. Had a thirst for more wine, of course, but also more information. So that has just kind of escalated into where we're at today.
I forgot to say what inspired me to do that.
You can say it now.
Okay.
What did inspire you? You got so distracted on your 100% on your test.
My 100%. So I initially got into it because I really just wanted to learn more about wine. But when I saw the Somm movie, when that first came out, I just thought that was so cool what they were doing. And my husband made a joke that I have a really good nose and I would be really good at blind tasting because I can smell everything, good or bad. And I will complain about it all the time if it's bad. And turns out, he was right. I did really enjoy blind tasting, and to this day, that is one of my favorite aspects of wine is blind tasting. And so that movie really sparked the interest for me and got me into it.
Okay, we do have more to say on this. However, we're going to wrap up the beginning of this podcast because we're actually sitting out in the middle of a vineyard recording this, and we're getting thunder, which is very bizarre for Temecula, and it has started to drizzle a little bit. So we would not like to get electrocuted out here, and so we'll be moving on. But all right, Shannon, we'll talk again soon.
Cheers.
Cheers. Over the past few months, Shannon's been asking some of our guests about their experiences with wine certifications. Today, you'll hear from Heather Rankin, better known as HB, a local wine server at Danza del Sol Winery, and from Nate Rivera, co-owner of Temecula's favorites, The Goat and Vine, Two Travelers Wine Bar, and The Little Goat Bakery. And be sure to tune in next week for a full-length interview with industry veteran and Mount San Jacinto College instructor Stephanie Staab. But first, here's HB, followed by Nate, sharing which certifications they've pursued and what motivated them to take the leap.
The very first certification I got was here in Temecula. It's called CHIP, Certified Hospitality Industry Professional. And that it talked about hospitality, but it also had a big emphasis about Temecula and Temecula's background. And that kind of pushed me down the bunny hole. So then I went on to do my certifications with the Quartermaster Somms, and then with the WSET, and then via COVID times, I did some little online fun things. Christy Norman, I believe that's her last name, she has a little wine program, and I've kind of some whimsical ones, but yes, those would be my wine certifications. I'm not originally from Temecula. When I first started in the tasting room, I thought, I know wine. I realized I just know how to drink wine. I don't know about it. And people would have questions, and I didn't have the answers. And other staff didn't have the answers either. And I felt like, I really want to know these. And so that's kind of what it began. So then I took the CHIP course, and then it just made I started reading all these books, and I just wanted to know more information. And I went from being the novice in the tasting room that knew nothing to the person that they're like, let me go get HB. She'll have this. And it's empowering to be like, let me explain this. Or that's a great question. I will find that out, and I'm going to reuse it on my next tour with the right answer for someone.
The Court of Master Sommeliers, Certified Somm. I've done the advanced coursework too, and I was planning to take the advanced exam this year, but we opened up Little Goat, so that definitely took priority. I've done the WSET level 3. I've done, the Cicerone program, beer server. I've done the Sake Educational Council, the one that Joshua Orr did down in San Diego, to be a sake, I don't know, you call it like a certified sake specialist. Gosh, I'm also a sherry specialist. I think that's all of them. I don't know. They don't really mean that much, honestly. You kind of do them because I've always just classically learned through traditional education. It's always been the way that my brain seems to kind of absorb, as much information. So these are just natural consequences of reading a book and then taking an exam. But I think those are the ones that I have. Gosh, I think it really kind of goes back to the very, very beginning for me, Shannon. When I worked at South Coast, like many, many moons ago, I want to say like 15 years ago, which was the very start of the wine certification process. I was working with Javier Flores and John McPherson, and they had a great relationship with, I believe her name was Dr. Margie Jones, and she's a department chair at Cal Poly Pomona at the Collins College, which is an unbelievable hospitality program in Southern California. And they had a relationship with them. And I was a beverage manager at the time. And they're like, hey, Nate, you can take your level 1 sommelier through Cal Poly Pomona. It's only going to cost you $100. And I was like, no way. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it then. And then that kind of led to all the other certifications, the WSET 3. I think that happened maybe during COVID, maybe when the long distance learning was going on and it just became easier. I took it through the Napa Valley Wine Academy. The pursuit of like the advanced sommelier, I think that's much more of a personal pursuit, if I'm being honest. I don't think it'll ever monetize, and nor is that the goal of it. It's just really for knowledge, for the sake of knowledge. And I think part of it too is just kind of seeing how far you personally can kind of go with in your profession. I figure like if you're going to do something, like do it 100%, right? Like go wholeheartedly into it. And I remember once reading that there's been more people that have gone to space than have ever passed the advanced sommelier exam. And
wow.
And I was like, man, well, that's something I have to try then.
Beyond just boosting resumes, wine certifications can shape the way people think about wine, what they drink, how they serve it, and even how they talk about it. For people working in restaurants, wineries, or retail, that kind of knowledge can open new doors and deepen their connection to the industry. Shannon asked Nate and HB how pursuing certifications has influenced their careers and whether it's changed the way they taste and enjoy wine on a personal level. Here's what they had to say.
No, it didn't, only because I'd already been, I think, in that career, right? I will tell you, when you're working a restaurant floor, though, or a wine bar floor, people seem to know the term certified sommelier, and I think it's only because it's been popularized by a couple movies, and you see it in mainstream culture right now. If you are going to be working a restaurant floor or a wine bar floor, I think the Court of Master Certified Sommelier certification tends to carry a little bit more weight with the consumer. As far as knowledge base, they're pretty comparable between WSET. There's another great organization, Society of Wine Educators, that has a great CSW and CWE course, which I think their CWE course is very comprehensive and very good. But you tell someone, oh, I'm a CWE, that the normal consumer won't understand that. They're like, is that like a sommelier, right? And sommelier only means like someone that really works with wine on a restaurant floor in a very classic setting, but anyone can kind of be a sommelier, right? But I think the consumer does like seeing the Court of Master Certified Sommelier. But I know that most places that have restaurant somms want to see the Court of Master minimum certified level to kind of manage a wine list.
Do you think that your opinion or taste in wine has changed? Because when you're studying, you do have to taste a lot of wine.
Yeah, for sure. 1,000%. Yeah, I mean, I still, I remember the first wine that kind of changed my perspective on wine, and this was a long time ago as a wine buyer down in San Diego for the Waterview restaurants. I don't even know if I think maybe there's some of them are still in existence, but that whole area in Seaport Village has been so redeveloped. But I was buying wine, and I remember, that we did like $6 million in sales, but we're doing most of that with La Crema and Kendall Jackson out there, right? And one of the reps brought me this like killer Chenin Blanc from Loire Valley, and I remember tasting it. And I'd never tasted anything like it before in my life. It's a Nicholas Jolly, and it completely changed my perspective on wine. I thought it was it was like honeyed and pomacious and great yellow apple notes on there, yet had this beautiful granitic matter to it. It was unreal. And now today, if you looked at my cellar at home, it's mostly full of Chenin Blanc and Riesling and Pinot Noir and Beaujolais. And that's kind of what I like. Actually, I drink a fair amount of Italian too, because my wife loves Italian wine. But I love Old Barolos. I love a lot of Gamay. But my palate has definitely evolved as time has gone on. I think all of us, right? We all start out with, we want wine that tastes, more fruity and higher alcohol and rounder, right? And I'm not ashamed. Like, man, that's how I started, right? And I think over time, as you continue tasting more wine, and experiencing more wine, your palate definitely changes, just like with anything else. I remember I used to dislike sushi, and I used to dislike, raw fish and, crudos. And now it's like, man, that's like one of my favorite things in the world to eat,
Yeah.
So I think just like with anything else, I think life and tastes are an evolution. We're constantly evolving, and, you find these new loves and these new interests as you continue to grow as well. So
After you got your certifications, for you personally, how did that impact your career, or did it?
Yes, very much so. Because just as I said, I suddenly became the person that knew the information and wasn't just making it up or kind of using this generic thing. And as you can tell, I'm super passionate about it. I find wine, I love reading wine textbooks, but at the same time, not wanting to share that to someone as in 1972, they having a fun thing with it. I started as just a tasting room associate. Then my title, I'm a woman of many hats here, but I'm our lead wine educator. I'm our SOM, our tour guide, one of our tour guides, and our elevated experiences. So, and then also throughout the valley as well, it got me in touch with so many other people, and people saying, I had a really great experience with you. You seem so knowledgeable. Would you come and help me with XYZ? Yes, I would love to. So, it's helped me professionally as well as personally help build more community here, I'd say.
Do you think your opinion or taste in wine has changed since you started studying wine?
Oh, yes. So I'll just say, even just from the very beginning, I don't even know if you could consider it wine back in the day. I remember in college, I don't know if it even exists anymore, Andres, which I would call champagne back then, but I don't even know if it's considered sparkling wine. If you can buy a case for $12, probably not. But yes, I will say, like many people, I started out liking super, super sweet and super cheap because that's all I could afford. And I like to say I'm wine fluid, that I love, there's a time and a place. I love trying all different regions, all different styles. I'm an acid freak. I love New Zealand Sauvignon. I love those things that make me pucker. I also love things with a story. That's the great thing of wine travel. My taste has definitely changed, but at the same time, it's still always evolving, and I hope it continues.
You might be wondering, do you really need a wine certification to work in a restaurant, winery, or retail shop? The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. Ask 100 different people in the wine industry, and you'll probably get 100 different perspectives.
Yes, but I don't think it needs to be an entry point. I don't want people to think, oh, I can't get hired at this winery or at this wine shop because I don't have that. I think often a lot of times people may start in the wine industry as, oh, it's a side job or just an interest. And then they start getting more interested and that hunger for that knowledge grows. I don't think you need to have that, but I think it is a powerful tool to have with you. Knowledge is power, and also it can help you kind of advocate for yourself. But as someone getting into this industry, I don't want them to feel that they have to have that to get in. The time will come, you'll either figure out if you want that knowledge or not.
I would say yes and no. Some of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met in the wine industry have 0 certifications. Like, I promise you. But I do think that the certifications do provide an employer at least a baseline that this person has achieved X amount of knowledge and they are employable for whatever concept they may be working towards. So I do think that there are some benefits. And I think, honestly, I think from a customer's perspective, they like to see some level of certification as well. If you are recommending, excursions or big bottles of wine or, whatever it may be, gives the consumer at least some assurances that this person is serious about what they're doing, right? They've spent their own money and time pursuing this, and we can take their recommendations. So I think there's a place for them, but I don't think that they're the end all be all either.
And finally, for today's episode, Shannon asked Nate and HB what advice they'd give to someone considering a wine certification or hoping to use one as a stepping stone into the wine industry.
It's not as glamorous as the things may look. It's studying. It's a lot of textbooks, sometimes without the wine. Also, I'll say, even if you may have so many traits, find a study group, find other people. One of the most powerful things is someone else may understand something a different way than you do, and it's great having their perspective, or maybe they are stronger in one point than you. I think the things that helped me pass was having that core group of people. And then you also kind of create this group almost like a trauma bond, because it can be so stressful to take this class. But find a group together. I know everyone can study great on their own, but really find a group of people that's going through what you're going through right now, and study together so you can each use each other's qualities.
Okay, so with all of the different wine certification options out there, what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to figure out which one to get?
Yeah, I actually get asked that question quite a lot, and I tried to be as objective as possible. And I'll tell you this, and I'll start with the court, right? The court is great if you want to work in a restaurant or retail setting, but I say that only because their theory portion that you need to know is quite significant for their certified level, right? They're also going to hit you on the blind tasting component of that exam, and then unlike the other exams that we're probably going to talk about, I don't know, but they have a service component. And I would tell you, for the certified level, the service component might be the hardest part. You're brought into this very cold and sterile room. There's a couple master sommeliers sitting at a table, and they are peppering you with questions about sake, about beer, about wine, about food pairings, all while you're trying to provide service to them. And they are running you, and then you're opening champagne, and then you're pouring a flight, and you're kind of having to think and having your mechanic component of your exam nailed down already. You have to kind of work a restaurant floor where you can kind of answer all these questions. You can work through the motions while they're asking you, like, what's in a rusty nail? What's in a Negroni? Give me 3 beer producers out of San Diego that make IPAs, right? And I mean, from all over, right? And want to see if you're able to be cool, calm, and collected and be able to accurately give them some great advice, right? So I think for restaurant settings, possibly retail settings, I'd go with the court. You're probably going to ask me about WSET next.
Yep.
Yeah. WSET, I think, is a great organization. They're based out in London. I think their level of knowledge is equivalent to, like, WSET 3 is equivalent to certified level knowledge for that exam. They also have a blind tasting component to that exam. If I remember correctly, it was only 2 wines. It was one white, 1 red, where the court was 2 whites, 2 reds. It might seem more daunting that you have 4 wines instead of 2, but I promise you, having 4 is better than 2, right? Because you're like, oh, wait a sec. Your mind plays tricks on you when it's just 1 white, 1 red. But with 2 whites, 2 reds, it's an advantage, I promise you.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they don't have a service component with the WSET. That's because maybe their education is geared more towards non-restaurant, right? You can be a distributor, right? You can be a importer. You can work in education. You can work on TV. You can work in academia. So there's a lot of different avenues for WSET as well, and it's a very, very highly esteemed certification as well. The other one that I would definitely talk about that isn't talked about enough is the Society of Wine Educators. Even their CSW, I know a lot of companies for a while, like a good decade or two, were sponsoring their reps, right? Whether you work for Young's or, RNDC, Breakthrough, Regal, all these places wanted their reps to get CSW certified. I've seen that book before, and it is a 300-page book. There's their CSW, which is their first level, pretty comprehensive. It's not an easy exam. It looks easy. It's 100 multiple choice. It's not an easy exam. I think that's a great foundational course. A lot of people don't know about it, but I think a lot of it. And then once you pass that, you can go on to your CWE, which is really for educators, right? There's people that work in hospitality up at CIA, the Cornell College, even here, Cal Poly Pomona. Some of these doctors in their field have CWE credentials as well. Mm-hmm. They're educators. So I think a lot of that program, there's a lot of people too that are maybe pursuing a master sommelier or an MW that will take CWE courses as foundational courses. There's a lot of people that have gone to the diploma level for WSET as a foundational piece for their MW. Mm-hmm. So I think all these programs kind of work together as well. I know myself, I've done one through the Wine Scholar Guild, the French course. And I still have to take my French exam, but I thought that's like a great foundational piece for hopefully passing theory on the CMS advance, right? So I want to do the French and then the Italian and the Spanish, so I can build this better foundation so that maybe I can get that passing score for the advanced exam. So I think in many ways these things all work together, and at the end of the day, they're all great. And any kind of pursuit of wine education it's a positive.
Today's episode gave us a glimpse into how wine certifications have shaped the journeys of two local pros, HB and Nate. We heard how their studies and our studies influence not just their careers, but also the way they taste and talk about wine. Whether you're pouring in a tasting room or managing several wine ventures, certifications can offer a boost in confidence, establish credibility, or provide a meaningful personal challenge. But as we've learned, there's no one answer. Some pursue them for career advancement, others for a deeper knowledge, and some just out of passion. Next week, we sit down with Stephanie Staab, longtime industry veteran and college-level wine instructor, to explore how academic wine education compares to certification programs. Stephanie brings a unique perspective from both sides of the classroom, helping students navigate the many career paths the wine industry has to offer. On top of that, Stephanie takes the Pour Temecula Pour Blind Tasting Challenge. Good luck. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Pour Temecula and leave us a review. Follow us on social media for behind-the-scenes content and updates on upcoming guests. Until next time, keep exploring, keep sipping, and cheers.